All right, so I guess we have five people on the line. We can get going here. If anyone else starts, or joins the call, we can kind of get them refreshed where we're at in the call. So I'll bring the meeting in order. This is Mike Jagger, chair of the Southampton Ad Hoc Tech Committee. On the call, we have Art Lawrence, Dan Breen, Chris Fowles, and Ed Gibson. And I have no announcements to make other than we do have new items on the agenda that I'm not sure if everyone's aware about. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And I did send out the minutes this morning to everyone because I took some notes last meeting and I admitted that my note taking was a little bit crappy. So if you had any corrections to make to the minutes, I've got them up here now. We can add anything that I've missed to these minutes as far as details go. So I'll open up to the committee to talk about the minutes from last meeting.
Could you make it a little bit bigger, Mike?
Sure.
Thanks. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Sure. So I really had just committee reports. We had the phone system. I talked about the vendor supplied option looks to be the best with the buy over time option. We talked about the internet being too expensive. We said my notes were to say internet was to stay as it is for now. We talked about the carriers laptops. Ed had stated that he had to find some remaining money to deploy what was remaining, and David had commented that the punch list is getting smaller. Anything that I missed here in these two subcommittee reports?
That's about right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think David was going to get a list of things to Ed to contact Wally with, to be sure that Wally came prepared for the next time they were scheduled to come or something.
Yeah, and he sent me that yesterday, so I just got to edit it a little bit and send it out.
Okay. Hi, Ed. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chris. Long time no see.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't have a new date right for them to come back out yet. So.
No, I didn't. I actually didn't want to. I didn't want to physically get one until I had all the information, so I could put it in bullet points. So there's no miscommunication or no.
Yeah.
Okay. So I added that.
Incorrect expectations this time around.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the community sub-reports? I know that some folks aren't here, so it's hard to ask those who are to talk about these items, but and then one item I noted then in my notes is that Chris was going to look into the select board to see what we need to do about non-residents.
Yep.
I don't know if that's really an action item or just you had to just affirm that or not.
No, it definitely was an action item, and we can bring it up under new business because we did take some action. So.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Art and David I wrote down you guys had an action item to look into the details of what was actually going to be part of the vendor install. I'm not sure you guys had time to look into that or had anything to add to this particular minute item. Did I record this properly or that's all I'm getting at?
Yeah, it looks okay.
Okay.
David did send out an email a day or two ago.
Okay.
With his conversations with the phone people.
All right, so I'll ask for a motion to approve these minutes so we can get them posted.
So moved.
All right, anyone against? All right, thank you. Anyone against posting the minutes as I have written in here? Okay, I'll take that as no opposition to the minutes being posted, and the minutes are approved from last meeting. So let's move right on to the committee reports. I'm going to pull up the agenda for this meeting. It's bigger so we can see it. I'll fill in all this kind of stuff later. Again, I have no announcements this time. And do we have any, I guess we have no updates from the phone system since those folks aren't on the call right now.
Again, just David's email.
Art, can you summarize that or to the group? Has everyone had a chance to look at that? I personally have not.
Yeah, he got a hold of, I guess it's Chris S. at Valley. And, there's a whole series of questions that he asked this person. And basically, if you let me, if you give me some sharing capability, I can try to put it up on the screen.
Sure. It's all yours.
If I can find it. All right. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger here.
Okay. I did see this.
See that?
Yep. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I gotta move something around here. Let me just do this. All right. Does everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the questions are, well, you can see them as well as I can read them here. I guess they have adapters and so on and so forth. We used to have a PoE switch, but I don't think we have that anymore. Again, most of the stuff is David's specialty, not mine. Let me see. I think I guess the important things that there is support and tweaks, fine tuning, blah blah blah, training. So I think implementing this is, from the way I interpret this, is pretty straightforward, and I don't think there will be any major issues. I think I don't know. Have we updated? We haven't updated the Spectrum speed yet, have we, Ed?
Looks like we lost him.
We lost him. So that, I think that's one thing that David's a bit worried. We need to get to that next level, which I don't remember what level that is, but I think it was like about twice the cost of the present cost. You guys remember that?
Yeah, it was another tier. I don't remember which one it was though.
Yeah,
But we needed additional bandwidth. Is that what you're saying, Art?
Yeah, he's worried that the worst thing you want is talking to a citizen and everything breaks up. So that's one thing we definitely would need to do. But I think as far as the numbers that he's been talking, as the cost and so on and so forth, it looks like we're in the ballpark here. We can actually save some money.
Yeah, it looks like to me too.
And I think we, as a town hall volunteer, I sure like to see this get in as quick as possible, because the phone system is horrendous.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What might be good, guys, just a suggestion would be to summarize this, and to add into your minutes. I mean, or attach the email or something as part of the minutes, whatever, just because it's got good information there. But
yeah, we could do that. That's a good idea. And here's some stuff. I think everybody saw this, right? As far as the cost, the monthly recurring cost and so on and so forth. And again, I don't remember what the numbers were that we were dealing with, but somebody that come to mind was like around $500 a month currently.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's rising, and I think we can stretch this out now. I know the select board does have an issue with contracts over three years, so that
Yeah.
would need to be looked at.
Yeah, Ed's coming back in. He's trying to connect, I think.
I'm back.
There you go.
Cutting all of this off here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So maybe just, Ed, just in terms of the cost on this voice over IP, if you can see
Yeah.
that screen here.
I can see it.
So would there be an issue to have a 5-year contract with anybody?
We have to get it approved at a town meeting.
Uh-huh. So the most we could do would be a 3-year?
Yes.
Okay.
Could we do a 3-year and then get an extra 2 years approved at town meeting?
No.
No? All right. So we might have to go back to them with because we wouldn't own the phones until after the 5th year, right? The way I'm reading this?
Yeah, they're basically rolling in that cost, right? That's how David explained it last time.
Yes.
So 370, that's what I wrote down too. 373, 51, 60-month term. Yep. So 33.59. Yep. So, I mean, is it a big deal to get sign off for a 5-year deal? Is that I mean, I'm kind of a noob in this area for you guys.
No, it's just a timing issue. Usually we have, in non-COVID years, we have 2 of them, usually a winter special town meeting and then the one in May. So usually like January, February, and then May.
I see. So we're out of the ballpark then.
Well, but if we have some other things, like if we wanted to do one of these grants, Ed, we've got to do something before December too. So we got to see if we've got enough possibility to do one in the fall, late fall. When would we have our free cash certification to do? Not to December?
Yeah, December.
All right.
And
so Chris.
Just so I'm clear, what's the restriction on the 5-year, Ed? Is it a law or what? It's something a select board can't override and agree to a 5-year contract?
Okay,
Ed, are you there?
He's frozen again.
Oh, he's frozen. Yep.
So are we dealing with like crappy computers or crappy internet here? Yeah.
Don't know. I think he may be home. I'm not sure. Hello.
Yeah, he's definitely frozen.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we have a question. Let me write that down.
And so the quotes that are attached, I guess I haven't seen this guy. So the quotes that are attached were only the 5-year one then, right?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, that, obviously was the cost to sort of, keep it in the same, or have it lower than what we currently have.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know this guy figured all sorts of stuff out, so there might be I know there are definitely other plans, but I'm not sure what the cost of that would be.
Yeah. Well, I would think that they've done some work with municipalities before, though, too. I'm just wondering what we could deal with a 3-year quote.
It's something, Mike, we probably should put down, and maybe David can get back to Chris here from Valley and get us a 3-year special. I'd like to know where this thing comes from. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Is this a state deal? Is this a local bylaw? What the heck is this?
Yeah, it's not a bylaw that I'm aware of, but Ed, are you back on now?
Yeah, I cheated on the phone.
That's probably better. Okay. So the question was, where does the 5-year problem come from? Is it a state law, or what is that? Or is it something select board can override?
The select board cannot override it. It's state law.
So we would need to go back and get a quote for a 3-year contract?
I'd probably stay with the 5 and plan on getting authority from a town meeting.
But we don't want to wait until February if we don't have to. I mean, to get it, right?
Well, if you do a 3, the cost is going up. And I just did a quick calculation. If the phone, we're only dropping in after 60 months, $149.25 for the equipment, which would be the phones. That means we would have paid $9,000 for the phones. That original quote from them when we were buying them out, and this goes back 2 years, was $3,000 for the phones.
Yeah, $35.59.
Right. So we're paying a lot in finance charges to throw them into that 5-year mix.
Well, you don't have the money up front. You got to do things like that.
Yeah, so to Ed's point, I think that it's pretty easy to figure out what it's going to cost to have a 3-year plan versus a 5-year plan. And I guess the question is, will the vendor support a 3-year plan instead of a 5-year plan? So we got our answer as far as what's going to cost, and I'll write down an action item to reach out to David to see if we can get them to agree to a 3-year situation just to fit our sort of the box that we have to operate in.
Yeah. And just a question, looking at that part about the conference room telephone, is that one we would use a lot, Ed? Could we drop that off the plan?
I don't see why we couldn't drop it off the plan.
That wouldn't be the biggest thing that gets used, I wouldn't think. It would be very occasional.
Yeah, and it depends on what the I'd want to see what the cost to buy that conference room phone was to buy it outright.
Yeah.
And if it's outrageous, then
yeah, maybe
we just buy a conference phone that's voice over IP.
Well, he says, sorry to interrupt, Ed. This is Mike. He says in this email that Art has pulled up here that the conference room phone is a big part of that cost, and we can move it to save about $1,200 overall, or $40 a month on the installment plan.
Yeah, we could buy a conference room phone that would work with it. It should be able to work with that system for a lot less than that.
Worst case scenario, you throw a phone down on speaker in the middle of the table.
Right.
If you really need that capability, you could say, here's my conference room. Someone throw their phone down and you got that capability. But I mean, that's $1,200 is a lot. I didn't realize it was that much for the phone.
Right.
For that one device.
Yeah. My memory is like the StarTex that's what they cost, but there are some other ones out there that probably aren't as famous as that should be able to pick up for like $250 or $300 if we wanted to do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the idea, Ed, your preference would be to try and buy the phones outright, which would be around the $3,500 mark. So the question is, do we have that funding up front from some of our funds that are in the budget?
I'd have to go back and take a look, but I'll get confused between what the balanced budget was and the override budget, but I thought we had $12,000 in the equipment budget. I'll have to go back and take a look just to double check that.
If you pull out the conference room phone, you only need about $2,300.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and change, maybe 2,400 if you want to round up.
Yep.
And then that can basically get the ball rolling on this whole project. Because you don't have to worry about any sort of time commitment to a 3 or 5 year situation, which is
Right.
ideal. And you're not paying finance charges and you're saving money overall.
Yeah. So
Right.
with the installment plan that they're referring to, though, that 373 a month, is that including the rental of the phones rather than the outright purchase? Is that how I'm reading that? So that monthly cost might be less if we buy the phones outright?
Yeah, I think it would have to be.
So maybe we need David to just get us a quote for that?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think we should I'll have an action item to follow up David to actually get a quote from the vendor for the 3-year plan in writing and without the conference room phone, and to true all that up with the parameters we've stated and get a new quote with that. We have a new monthly cost that should be lower than what we're seeing now, that 373.
Well, they're showing after the 60-month term is up, it's $224 a month with the 150 out of there from the equipment costs.
Okay, yeah, good spot there, Dan.
Yeah.
So that's our difference there, 224 to 373. So I
Yeah.
think that's 149, right? Is that what he's saying there?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what Ed was saying with the 9,000. 60 times 149 is the 9,000. So that's for the equipment costs.
Gotcha.
Assuming the 224 is just the service, regardless of upfront or rolled in.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem too unreasonable.
No, it sounds pretty good. Okay, I'm just writing some notes down real fast. Should get a quote. Have David to get a quote on the 3-year, and then we're also going to get a quote on buying outright.
Mm-hmm.
Without the conference room. And we pretty much have an idea what it's going to be, but we just want that in writing.
Yeah. You just want a cleaner quote where it's only 3 years. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think this is pretty good. Anything else on the phone upgrades that we got to talk about? That was a good discussion. All right. And since David's not here, I don't know if Ed wants to talk about the laptops. Did you have any success in appropriating funds for the remaining laptops, Ed? Or is that still like you're still working on that?
Still we shouldn't have a problem doing that because Chris and I were talking about it yesterday, and we should have enough in CARES funds that we haven't utilized, or between the change in FEMA actually covering 100% instead of 75%, which will free up some other funds for us. So should have CARES funds that we'll officially have to ask to have transferred from one item over to these, but I don't foresee that being an issue.
Okay, great. That's awesome. So will you, who drives the ship on that now? Is that David or Ed? Are you, like, once you have the money, do you reach out to the vendor like Wally, or who's doing that?
I'll be reaching out to Wally.
Okay. And you just keep us informed in the next meeting how that's going, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think a couple things can happen simultaneously. I mean, Ed and I are going to meet next week and try to work on the CARES stuff in general. So we can, if we can get the money swapped around, then we know the money's there. It's going to be a matter of Wally's availability to get in and schedule the time, hopefully a couple of consecutive days so they can get the last, 8 of them, right, Ed, to get installed?
Trying to remember if it's 7 or 8. I think it's 8.
We wrote
Yeah.
7 down last time, but if it's 8, I'll write it
Okay.
down and correct the
One or the other. One or the other. But to try and get that done, I mean, that needs to be done. So if
Yeah,
they
we can't have those sitting around.
if they can be available at a good time, maybe they're less busy, who knows?
Yep.
All right. Let me share my screen here. So that was the Curious laptops. Just talked about that. I wrote some notes offline here. I'm not very good at typing and trying to listen and all that, so I'm better at just writing offline, and I'll incorporate my notes later.
And,
We did
and
have
don't
some-
forget, Mike, with it being recorded, you can just listen to the recording afterwards and do your notes.
Yeah, I definitely need to start looking into that. I don't think I've ever tried to listen to one of the recordings before, so I may need to do some due diligence and figure out how to get into one of the recordings. Okay, so we had some emails and text messages flying around. I had a lot of crazy stuff happen to me this week with technology. My home computer CPU went down, and I had to go to work and get my work laptop, and I'm running on that here at home now. So I don't really have access. My work doesn't allow me Gmail access on this laptop, so I can only get Gmail from my phone, which is a pain in the butt. So I'm kind of handicapped right now with technology, and what I can actually pull up and look at, because I'm on my work laptop right now. But I did have some text messages and emails flying around that I can't access. Long story short, I can't access the emails. But I did go through my text messages, and I did pull out that we had some discussions about trying to discover some money. Dan sent me a message about the Civic Plus website. We did have some need to discuss some email issues that are going on. So I'm kind of going to open it up to I think Chris to talk about the ARPA stuff and any other money that we should be keeping or sort of buckets we should be keeping our eyes on to grab some money for the town.
Well, okay, I'll share that. Let me, I'll maybe turn the ARP stuff to Ed a bit, but I'll just to bring up on the community IT compact grant. I believe it's a grant that we can apply for every other year, and we should be eligible for it this year. Ed, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, I have not seen the call for proposals yet, but when it was done last year, the applications had to be in by October 15th. And there is, I think the maximum amount, if I'm not mistaken, was around $200,000. And I think it's got to be one project. Is that not right, Ed?
That's right, because Art helped me a year ago and put together a great package, which was like, my memory was like $58,000, but we had grouped a bunch of things together, including the voice over IP phones and everything else. And they got back to me and said they wanted to give us some money. However, we couldn't combine projects, so we had to pick one.
So what did we use it for finally?
We used it for that new switch and
Was it the
Wi-Fi.
firewall? Oh yeah, okay. Wasn't thinking it was a firewall. Okay.
I think it was. Now you say that, I think it was.
Okay.
The firewall and the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So anyway, normally the way this grant goes, from what I've seen on deadlines from the state, it's usually between the middle of September and the middle of October that you've got a chance to apply. So I'm expecting, I would think by early August they'd put out a call and details about how to apply, and you have to apply online. And this is one where they send a password to the chief administrator. So Ed would get the magical code to get in online and actually fill out the application online. But once we have more information, I'll share that with you guys. I'll keep an eye out for it if I see it coming my way. And
yeah,
so
I expect it'll come out between mid-August and the end of August.
okay, all right. So what these grants usually allow you to do for the state is that even though you have a time to apply online, sometimes when you do that, you have to do it all in one sitting. So you have to have everything ready to plug in at the same time, or they'll let you start entering something in, save it, go back out, come back in 3 days later, and keep on continuing. It just depends on how this is organized, but we've dealt with both. But basically, what you can usually do is get in on their portal and download a Word version of the application so that you can fill in all the answers in a Word document so that when you get online, you're just cutting and pasting. So that's what I would highly recommend once we get that information. But I think that's definitely one to watch out for. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would think it would cover like website development. That could be a big one just by itself. Website development and the cost of hosting, or I don't know, whatever. I'm not sure what their criteria are going to be or eligibility will be, but that's a possibility there too. So I think, we just have to keep that in mind and think about what monies we need for what, I guess. So that's what I can tell you about that one. And I think, Ed, if you have any other details, we just know that broadband is going to be a big push under the American Rescue Plan, the ARPA. I don't know that we've seen a lot of detail, but I think that will be certainly broader than just town hall. It's really trying to access places in town and make places all over town accessible. Yep.
There's two thoughts about that. And from the money we're going to get from ARPA, from the total monies, even the 1.8 million that we're supposed to get would not be enough for us to build our own fiber network throughout town. So if you kind of throw that thought out, the next thought that comes up is that you're still stuck with the same devil, but could use those funds to work with Charter to build out what we have. So any of the areas that Charter didn't put their cabling into, we could use those funds to expand into those areas so everyone in town, if they wanted to, could utilize the cable or the internet.
And it wouldn't necessarily be a fiber network though, right?
Correct.
But there are places in town, and apparently we thought Charter would have a mapping system that would show what parts of town are not reached right now.
They should.
So that might be a first thought, would be to have the Charter rep come and talk to us at some point at one of our meetings.
Yeah, very possibly, yes. Or we could, just reach out to them as a starting point and see if we can get the maps to show what areas are not currently served.
Yeah. So that might be an idea. Just, to start to use those funds. It's sort of the next project, if you will. But there's definitely some money available that would be focusing on infrastructure like that.
Is that what this grant is specifically for, is infrastructure projects?
Not the community IT one, but this American Rescue Plan, which is the new federal government one.
Yeah, there are three pieces of infrastructure that are eligible under the funds we get from ARPA, and the three categories are water, sewer, or broadband.
Yep.
Just seems that weird that we'd be getting money to build out Spectrum's network for them. Like that, let them build out their own damn network, and no one's really paying for cable anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just internet, overpriced internet. Let them build it out.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a better way we could utilize that. If we got the money, a better way we could utilize that, like use it for broadband to upgrade our fiber connection into the town.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we had, and I think you guys had seen it, or it's up on our website, but we had a presentation at Select Board a couple of years ago by the Whip City folks to, get involved in, in being our own municipal light district or whatever town, just like all the other hill towns around us are starting to do. And so they came and gave us a presentation, which is up on our website, the town website, but it was about a $4 million cost. So I think that's why Ed is saying that the 1.8 million that we're going to get from the federal government over 2 years doesn't even begin to touch that. But I don't know if it's worth, getting any kind of updates from the Whip City folks or another entity that's doing that kind of stuff to figure out, whether forming our own municipal light district and being able to generate, manage it and being able to generate money for the town is worth looking at versus building out a charter system. But the idea was simply to at least be sure that people around town have access to the internet. I mean, we're not that big a town, but there's definitely pockets in town that don't really have much access.
Yeah, and these are all really interesting wrinkles because, I was talking with the Easthampton media folks, and Southampton and Easthampton are chartered together under Spectrum, and Easthampton's such a bigger town than Southampton. They have more cable subscribers than Southampton, and all these really touchy issues about hanging wires on poles, and there's a lot of like intricacies out there about doing these things. And Easthampton has been basically partnering up with Whip City, and I think Whip City is going to extend their system up into Easthampton. I think that's the way they figured out to do it, is the best cost for them. And if we were looking at anything like that, I think it'd be best to partner up with a provider that's already in business doing this. They have the billing in place already, and they could, extend their system up into our. And I think that's what Ed was saying, right, with Charter, and to work with them, but on a different level, if we had our own sort of system partnered up with another provider, we could brand it as our internet, and it'd be basically powered by Whip City and billed by Whip City and all that. So it's way less cost. A lot of people have already figured this out.
Yeah, unfortunately, the town doesn't have the bonding capacity to do that.
Yeah, and it costs a lot of money, for sure.
Right.
And Easthampton is, that's why they haven't pulled the trigger yet, because they're trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting though. How do some of these little, these tiny hill towns are doing this though with Whip City? How do they have that capacity when they have
don't forget the state paid for anywhere from half to 2/3 of that cost.
A lot of them, and if you can go online and actually see how a lot of them were funded.
Okay.
And a lot of them did bonds. A lot of them, raised money internally. A lot of them excise. So there's a lot of different ways they raised the money, but the number one way was bonds. Most people did it through bonds, and funded everything that way. A lot of power plant projects are done that way. Look at MWEC, how they did the Stoningtons and all that, or the Stony Brooks, and now they own those plants outright, and they're basically sitting on a gold mine. It took them 20 years or 30 years to do it. But I mean, now it paid off, and it's just getting people to sign on to that kind of stuff is really hard. As you guys know better than I do, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think one of the questions if I remember, when we had the presentation, we asked about, if Whip City would do all their installation after you do get all the pole changes with Eversource and Verizon and everybody else that you've got to go through and move wires around, et cetera. Even if there were subscribers, I think we asked, and I don't remember the answer, but what was the minimum number of subscribers that would make it viable? And then even if you didn't have everybody wanting it on a particular street, would they string all the wires, do all the lines, so that eventually when somebody decided, oh gee, I really do want it, they could? And that was the answer, was definitely yes, that they would put in all the infrastructure, whether they had everybody on that particular street, for example, wanting to subscribe. So that was kind of an attractive idea, but I can't remember what the minimum number of subscribers was to make it somewhat viable. But anyway, that presentation might be worth looking at again, or talking to them at some point.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm all about getting money to do that long-term stuff. My focus is really to get money in that we can somehow apply to, getting an IT vendor to service the town, so people aren't calling Ed in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day even.
Mm-hmm.
So we have money to have an actual backup system in place that backs up all of our data appropriately. We have a lot of risk in place right now that we haven't addressed yet, and we need money to address this, like the risk. And once we have the risk addressed, we can start okay, now we can do the icing on the cake sort of stuff, like building out broadband. So while we can go for the long-term stuff, I personally, for this committee, want to focus on the short-term stuff that can stop the pain in town hall and all these other departments that are having bleeding going on right now.
Yeah.
So, I definitely want to help. This committee can help put together anything you guys need with these grants. If you want to reach out to any of us to see if there's anything we can do to help you guys, we're more than helping. That's what this committee is about. And if we can get in your back pockets about any of the stuff that we can get grants and money on, about how we can address the risk the town is having right now. Mm-hmm. The laptops are a huge leap forward to allow people to work, out of the office, right? That was like huge advantage. And we just need to keep carrying that process forward so that we can keep eliminating these risk pools that the town is embedded in right now. And we have no money to do it, from my understanding. That's really troubling to me. So I'm really focused on getting money that we can eliminate and bring the town up to speed with the phone system, getting all of our computers backed up regularly, and having a vendor there that can support you guys when things go wrong is super, super. I mean, wouldn't you feel like you're a legitimate sort of organization at that point when you have all these holes patched up? Yeah. I would, at least, I wouldn't want to come to work every day like wondering, geez, is my computer going to boot up and is my data going to be there? Yeah. That would drive me nuts. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to eliminate, as a group, I think we can help with these things, but I'm expressing my weakness to everyone here, that I don't know the best way to secure this money. And I just want to be part of anyone's knowledge in this, so that I can get into the fold here with the team, and that we can look at these things from every perspective and try to submit the document as perfectly as we can. We need to get as much money as we can. And I'm really feeling the pressure on this, if it's not coming through.
Yeah. So the first logical one will be probably this community IT grant, community compact one. I guess we'd need to know very clearly what that one consolidated project is that we would apply for, because obviously piecemeal things are not what they apparently are interested in. So we've got to pick out the biggest need at the moment and figure out how to articulate that. So that might be good, to start thinking about, and putting what you just said, Mike, somewhat in a 2 or 3 sentence purpose, goal, whatever it is. That would be the reason why we would be asking for money.
Right. So everyone start thinking about that, right? I have my idea what the big risks are. So I'd like everyone to start thinking about what they think the risks are. And then next meeting, we can get together and start talking about what everyone's perceived risks are. Yeah. And then we can start prioritizing those.
I think Art was going to say something. Go ahead.
No, the next week, our next meeting is probably good. I just don't, we spent a lot of time initially on this committee talking about 365. and really getting all the data up in the cloud and all that good stuff, which the 365 brings us. We've taken care of pretty much the hardware side of it, or most of the hardware side of it, once we get these things in laptops all installed. But I really think, and I'm changing my whole tune here because I never thought this before, but the more I've looked into this 365 with even my own kids and their own businesses, it's no question it's the way to go. And so I don't know how if you can wrap something like that up into a community IT grant. I'm not sure if they would go for something like that. We know what the costs are, what a yearly or 2-year cost would be. And just something I think that would get us out of, potential ransomware and all this other stuff, all this other bad stuff that's out there. That's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
So let me summarize that. Your suggestion is that we roll up the costs for like subscriptions for the 365 and present that as a possible.
Yeah, and anything around it, but it'd be sort of like one thing. But I don't know if you could, if the whoever looks at this stuff at the state level would maybe I can jump on the website and look back at some of the grants and see if something like this has been done before. I'll take that as an action item.
Yeah, they list the grants that were given over the last couple of years, so you could see what other towns have gotten it for. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me look into that for our next meeting.
Okay.
Now, it reminds me too, I'm blanking his name. It was Joel, right? Didn't he do up the RFP before he left?
Yeah, and Mike was involved with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are we with that? What do we need to do for moving that forward? Where are we with that? I guess I don't know.
Well, I think the RFP was, as Joel left it, was ready for the group to review. And if we wanted to pursue that with a vendor, we just want to make sure that was tight. And then we could use that document with a vendor. That's the last I knew of it.
Yeah.
So Ed, what are your thoughts about that?
I think it's one thing we can look at, and when I can go back and see if there's any directions or information from the past ones that might show that would be an allowable cost.
And did we have a vague ballpark idea on the cost on that, or we don't really know until we get a vendor responding to the RFP? Or
Right.
Yeah, that was not just the 365. I believe that was also support too for the,
Right.
any issues.
Yeah. Okay.
The grants that I have looked, the grants that I have looked at, some are pretty straightforward. I mean, we're going to wire all town hall. Well, we're already wired, so
Yeah.
which in a way it's too bad because that's a pretty straightforward one, and I think they got this particular town, which escapes me now, got $60,000-$70,000 to do that, and that was
Right.
pretty nice, but I'll go through and see what I can find, from old grants and see if there's anything close.
Okay.
And maybe, I don't know, Ed, maybe we can talk to the state guy or get an idea, or maybe, they'll be forthcoming on whether something like this would be amenable to them.
And the other thing we could, I don't know how we can do that, but that gets into the next topic of the Civic Plus. And last time we talked about this, it seemed like it was too pricey, right? So I don't know,
Well, it's going to be $11,000 to convert. And and if you do it through a grant, you can pay it up front. If you don't do it through a grant, they would they'll usually split that over like a 3-year period.
Yeah, $6,000 a year for 3 years.
I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't hear that.
So they quoted us $12,500 for upfront, or roughly $6,000 for 3 years, and then after that, $2,600 a year for the annual support.
Yeah.
And would that just be the website, or what is that?
Yep.
That's the website.
Yeah, it'd be the website.
And
So-
is that design or just support?
Well, the upfront cost or the 3-year cost which includes hosting. That's for designing, putting the whole thing together, all the documents and everything, and then the support is the $2,600 a year for
Got it.
whatever
Yeah.
that's entailed.
Well, and Ed, you seem to think that the Civic Flux folks had been, I mean, there's lots of towns using them, obviously.
Easthampton just went live.
It's the majority of them. And what Civic Plus has done is gone out and bought up some other companies because probably the predominant one that I know that they bought up was Virtual Town Hall. That I had used in a couple of different places. So, like I say, from that 10% sampling, I think probably 90% of the communities were using Civic Plus, and then there were a couple of outliers. I think one was Granicus, and then there was
City.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And basically all three of those, you know, they specialize in basically municipal government websites.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing I can say bad about Civic Plus, and, you know, I still like them because they bought the Virtual Town Hall product, was, I don't think it was, I can't remember if it was in 19 or 20, they made the brilliant decision to do a serious upgrade to their product for the websites in the basically end of April, beginning of May timeframe, when the majority of communities in Massachusetts were trying to post annual town meeting and election information to their websites, and it was down for about a week.
Mm. Yeah.
But like I say, I know they bought the Virtual Town Hall product. I've been through a couple of conversions with that, and they do a good job. You know, they work with you. You know, if you look at any of those websites I listed out for the towns, there's a bunch of different configurations, so they work with you to get the configuration that you want. And then the last upgrade that I was involved with, which was probably about 4 years ago, they had upgraded the product so that it was much more user-friendly, and people actually in the town hall could do a good deal of the majority, if not all, of the upgrades to information on the website, rather than having to send it out to a third party to do it.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I mean, for the heads of departments to be able to maintain their own page when they had information to post, that would be so ideal, rather than having to go through 2 or 3 steps to get there.
Yep.
So that's about a $12,000 figure we're talking about. Is that what we're saying?
12.5.
Yeah. So my question is, you know, can that be pigeonholed into some sort of individual grant? Because I don't think that's enough money to be thrown into, you know, like one of the other ones. Like, we're talking a bigger number amount. But is there something available that would cover just the website, for example? I don't know. I'm asking dumb questions because I don't know the answers, and I don't know it's impossible. So.
Yeah, the Compact IT grant, that would be eligible for.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I say, you can only do one project, so you got to pick the one that you're going to go forward with.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's got a bigger maximum amount of 200,000, I think, if they stick with that. So if we had a bigger project to go for, we'd probably be better to aim for that if we could define it really well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm kind of asking Ed and Chris, you guys know better than us. Like, we've heard a lot of the pain points the town has. But do you have a pain point that's worth about $195,000 that we can identify?
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, I sent you an email today with the information about the IT grant, and I picked out 3 projects that were in my mind. And one was the website development. One was upgrading or switching our town's financial software system. And the last one, but there's probably not enough money there. In fact, I probably know there's not enough money there, but my third idea was to do basically at least run the wiring for a fiber optic wide area network between the town buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
I wrote those down.
Yep.
Then, like I say, the Office 365 is a good idea too. So
Okay.
Yep.
Keep thinking about those over the next couple of weeks until we meet again. And I'll poll you guys again, and ladies, I'll poll everyone again, and we can try to triage what we think might be the best one to submit for these guys as a group, and then now you guys can take it from there. If you need us for anything, we'll certainly be there to support you guys in that, ladies, for that effort.
Yep. Well, I think, like we've said with the community IT one, that is one project, whereas the ARPA funds, the rescue plan funds, that could be several different things, I think. So, I think we could have a sort of a 2-prong approach if we can just really clearly define, both the purpose and the gain. I mean, what difference would it make if what's the impact? If we get a grant, that's usually one of the questions. I mean, if you got the grant, what's the difference going to be, kind of thing. So I think you need to be able to define what the problem is clearly and why this would be a necessary improvement to whatever. So you can start, thinking about those kinds of just language that we can, have as generic background for any grant, really. But
okay, I think we're pretty good on the language. I think it's just a matter of identifying what grants are available, what the dollar amounts are, and then trying to line up our woes to those grants appropriately.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have a good job of feeding ammunition about the woes. Whatever it may be, we'll be able to give anyone who's writing the grants plenty of data to back up why it's terrible. We need money to make it better. Yeah. So anyway, right. But yeah, we'll keep on the lookout for. We know that that's available, but we'll keep on the lookout for anything else as well. Yeah, that'd be huge. The more money we can get, like I said, we need bags of money without raising taxes and levying all sorts of other things on taxpayers. And
yep.
Okay, so someone mentioned email issues again. I don't know who it came from. Maybe Dan. Does anyone know anything about the email issue problems?
I know that Dan and I were supposed to get together, but he's on vacation. We're gonna just try to brainstorm about it. Short term, Ed, I think I mentioned last meeting, if you can send me the correspondence you had with Bluehost, I can see if I see anything that they missed, or because I've been looking around at some of these email related DNS records, and I don't know if this is their paid tier, but that's a nasty problem if they're just rejecting Hotmail and other providers. And I don't know, maybe putting some pressure on them would make them look into it or something, but I don't know what to do because I don't know anything about the account or anything. So if you just send me what you've seen so I can read it, and then I don't know if you CC me on a thread that I can reply to them directly to, maybe that would help.
Yeah, and I have to search my own personal email because I understand why they might do this, but they won't email me at the business address. they make you file a third-party email address that they give their notifications to. So I'll have to dig through my personal emails.
It's kind of strange too. But the Hotmail
Well,
and the MSN.
I understand why, because I went in back in. It used to drive me nuts that, because we utilized the middle mile, which meant we went to a third party vendor for our internet and services. So it used to drive me nuts because they would actually notify us when they were going to have an outage, and because it was fiber, there could be a break in Worcester that affected the Berkshires or whatever. And it used to drive me absolutely nuts because their methodology of letting us know that there was an outage or whatever was emailing us. Well, guess what? Our internet was down, so I'm not going to get any, emails or whatever. So I finally got them to actually notify me on my cell phone also. So I can kind of understand why Bluehost, may do that for, in case there's an outage or whatever, and you wouldn't get the notification or the email. But like I say, the simple email notifications of, okay, we're having an issue, here it is, and following through with it, I just never got why it had to be a third-party email.
Yeah, well, I just know that the Hotmail and MSN addresses are still blocked. Definitely not getting through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad. It seems fixable, but I'm motivated too.
Would it help to have, what do you actually need, Dan? Would it help to have a copy of the agreement with Bluehost, or what do you need?
I don't know, a contact email address that I can just email somebody and explain the problems and see if there's something technical that can be done about it.
I mean, Ed, you must have a contact at Bluehost, right? Do you have a normal person that you could email and introduce Dan to?
If Dan wants to come in the office and sit with me, I'll let him use my computer and my phone. But because of the fact that you can only get through to them with using our password, I don't give out the password.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll leave that for you guys to schedule, Dan. Is that a possibility or not?
I think worst case, you guys could get on a conference call, right? The three of you in different locations, and just say, hey, look, I'm Ed, this is Dan. We work together and we're trying to get to the bottom of why you're not accepting Hotmail or these other addresses. Can we talk about that for 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yep. That would be the easiest way to do it. Okay. But I'll tell you, it's going to be a lot longer than 5 minutes.
Well, I speak in hyperbole and I speak in a lot of, metaphor.
They have a lot of formalized processes, and you may end up going from one tier to another.
Yeah, but I think if you're on the line, Ed, and you can pass all the security checks, and Dan's there with you, you guys can get to the bottom of it probably pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I would
fine.
guess.
Sounds good.
Yep.
At least we get a good head start on it anyway. I think.
Yeah, it needs to get solved. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, and Dan, I'm pretty sure Dan can ask all the right questions, and he'll know exactly. And when the guy says, "Oh, this," Dan's gonna be like, "That's horseshit," or he's gonna be like, "Oh, okay." Where you and I, Ed, will probably be scratching our head, like, "Okay, sir."
I've already gotten into a few arguments with them, but like I say, I don't know 1/10 of what Dan does.
Right. That's why we need.
I mean, I'm not an email expert either, so I guess that's kind of why. If you've already had correspondence, I'd like to at least see what's discussed, so I can look into the issues beforehand, because I'm not going to be able to go off the top of my head too much either.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, fair enough. So Ed, whatever sort of email traffic you have from yourself and Bluehost, you can share that with Dan in some manner.
Yeah, whatever I can find, I'll shoot off to him.
Okay, yeah. Any sort of troubleshooting things they've said to you or whatever, I'm sure that's what he's interested in. about this particular issue with blacklisting these domains. I'm using layman terms here. I don't know what the official word is.
Mm-hmm. Can I backtrack a second on the website? I was talking, I guess it was maybe with other Dan, and we were talking as we were starting to think about website improvements without going into any great detail. Is it possible, Ed, to get some sort of a report? I know you said, because you don't give out your password, I mean, we couldn't really access it, but is there a report somehow that comes out that would show us where people are going on our website? What are the pages they go to?
I believe there is.
If we could get any kind of a report for like the last 6 months to get us an idea what are the pages that are most frequently accessed or information being looked for, that might help us start thinking about how to rearrange some design ideas, just some preliminary thinking.
Yeah, I'll see what is entailed in pulling those reports.
Okay, that'd be great.
Ann Campbell is the web admin on the website. She's the one that does the updates monthly.
I won't say monthly. It's in some cases daily.
Okay. Is she able to pull these reports easily? I feel like if she's the WordPress expert, it shouldn't be that hard.
I would think so, or she can send me the information on how to pull them.
Yeah, that would be helpful just to get us an idea. I mean, I'm sure there's some pages that people don't even look at. So as we think about some sort of redesign, how would we want to shape some of it? We could have some preliminary thoughts on that, maybe.
How did she get a password if a member of the tech committee can't even get one?
She's our web administrator. She does the work.
I'm pretty well versed in web development. I could clean up some of the stuff on the website if I get a login. Like some of these links on the homepage are dead.
Okay, I'll set up a password for you.
All right, cool.
Nice. Dan, just whatever you end up changing, just summarize and send to Ed so he knows what work you've done.
Yeah, I didn't plan on doing a whole lot, but I just noticed the Facebook link on the very first page is dead, and these things I'd like to just go and clean up because it's easy. Yeah. Just try to keep note of it. So, and also just keep track of your time. How much I'd like to know how much time all the team members are spending on actual work that we're doing besides consulting. So just keep track of your time for me. Okay. All right. So we talked about Civic Plus, and the reason I brought up Civic Plus originally is because I just wanted to get on everyone's radar that that's kind of stuff that we could probably slip in some of these grants. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just my pea brain thinking about what could possibly happen. So if that can happen, I just want to get everyone's radar, kind of tuned in on these sort of projects and which ones we want to peg for these grants and which ones we can't, that we could kind of, what's the low-hanging fruit here, I guess is what I'm looking for, that we can tackle with these funds. So I don't know, personally, I've covered everything that I wanted to cover tonight. I think we did a good job with just the few folks that are here. Anybody, I'm going to open it up to anybody else for a new business or anything that we want to further discuss that we've been discussing.
I'm going to add one thing that was my follow-up from the last meeting, which was the tech committee charge. And that was the issue sort of related to Megan, but not necessarily just Megan. what the question was, right now, she can't really be a full member of the committee, a voting member, because she's not a resident. And that's just simply the way the charge was put forward. So let me just read you what it says right now and the proposed change. So the summary of the committee is, it's a committee consisting of Southampton resident volunteers who have worked in or currently work in the information technology field. And the committee structure is 5 to 7 residents with technology experience. So that's where the blockage is right now for making her a full member. Dan brought it to my attention, and we got it on the agenda last night for select board, and we've proposed a change. And we kind of proposed it and voted on it. So I maybe got the cart before the horse, but I thought I would take advantage of it. So the proposed change from the select board was saying a committee consisting of volunteers who have worked in or currently work in the information technologies field, 5 of which are residents in town. So then when you have the committee structure of 5 to 7, instead of saying 5 to 7 residents, you would say 5 to 7 persons, 2 of whom may be non-residents. So if that meets everybody's general approval, in case we find somebody else besides Megan, that would allow her to be a full committee member. She's still got to fill out the little application thing of wanting to be a member, and select board would actually have to appoint her. She'd have to get sworn in just like you guys did. But that's not that hard to do. And then she could be a full voting member legitimately. So if that's okay with you guys, I kind of took the lead on that.
Yeah, that's okay with me. And we're not differentiating at all that they don't have to work or go to school in Southampton. They just can be non-residents with no restrictions.
Right. Yep.
Okay, great. That sounds great to me.
So it's just a committee consisting of volunteers who have worked in or currently work in the information technology field. That's the only, we don't want anybody that from some other town that has no relevance to the committee, obviously. So we're tying that in there. But assuming we've got a 7-person committee, which we don't yet. I mean, I'm not a voting member, right? So I'm not really a counting person in terms of that. So you've got an extra slot really in case you find somebody else that may have some skills that could round out the committee. So I think 2 out of 7 as non-residents is it still gives it primarily a Southampton resident committee, which it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Right. So we'll let Megan know too.
Great.
All right. That's all I have.
All right. I'm just making a note of that.
I'll send you the actual wording, Mike, if you want.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just made a note for the minutes so I can get that in. All right, so that's good feedback and good knowledge. So hopefully we'll get Megan on board soon and get her sworn in, and everyone we can welcome her to the group and get her voting. And was Kim in that same boat, or was she a resident?
She's a resident, I believe.
Okay, I wasn't sure if she was.
Well, I think she is. I don't know.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so anybody else have anything they want to discuss about what we've already discussed, or do you have any other new business you want to bring up?
I'm showing up a little bit late to the party.
Hey, David.
Welcome.
I poked my head in here. I've been heads down with work and realized at 7:00 that the meeting started probably at 6:00. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
So I had sent over some items related to the phone system. I don't know if you have already gone through those, if there was questions or takeaways from that.
We did we talked about it briefly, and we talked about costs, and let me go back to my notes here. Let's see. We said man, I've taken a lot of notes. Okay, we wanted to get a 3-year quote and on the phones instead of a 5-year quote.
Okay.
And we wanted to
spreading cost out, you mean, right? For equipment?
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing was we wanted to basically get that same quote if we buy everything outright without the conference phone.
So there was another item there where Chris Sorensen followed up and said that they can offer, I forget what the brand name was, but a free conference phone.
Oh, okay.
To just pull that out 100%.
Nice.
But still get it, just pull out the cost.
Okay.
I can go back to him and say, can we let's just get the upfront purchase as well as the lease, it's not leased, but distributed cost for 3 years instead of 5.
If they can do that, do you know if they can do that, or is that just like, is that an option?
I can't imagine they couldn't. I think it's their equipment. They're just spreading out the cost to make it feasible.
Sure.
So I'll ask for those 2 options again with 3-year cost, and then have them highlight the conference room phone as being no charge in either scenario.
All right, awesome. And was there, David, do you remember, I think I heard someone say earlier on the call today that we thought we'd have to upgrade the internet to have these phones put in. Is that true?
I don't know that you have to. I would really recommend it. And that's one of the big reasons I think spreading the cost out is going to be beneficial, because then you don't have a higher monthly and all of this upfront, because I know that there was limitations on the budget. There was some other back and forth I went around with him, and I think really from a technology perspective, I think we need to think about quality of service, setting up the firewall or some other device to make sure that we're protecting a certain amount of bandwidth for voice traffic. Chris had some ideas, and he said he would certainly work with us to figure that out. I think he had one other item. If I can pull up that email from him. Oh, support. So that was a big question of mine that I passed along his responses, but I went back to him. I said, post go live, post deployment, once this is really in play, like, what do you guys do if you need, voicemail reset or a new extension provision for a new staff member or somebody that's coming in? And it's a little vague, but he said, yes, they have a ticketing system. They have about 30 days, 15 to 30 days after deployment that you can make tweaks and changes and everything like that. But they said that there is kind of admin training for people to perform those functions. Somebody within town hall can kind of take that over as, hey, I've got to reset somebody's voicemail. I've got to make a new extension or, caller ID for somebody else or something like that. I wasn't sure what the team here thought about that, whether we have somebody who's capable of doing that could do that, if there's somebody that has done something like that in the past. I just don't know the players that have been involved in the past and what their technical abilities are.
Yeah, it's my understanding we have no one, and that we're trying to get away from having town clerks and other accountants and those kind of folks try to do IT work or telecom work, and one of the things I've been harping on here is trying to get like support for these folks so that they can do their job and put in a call and get their computer fixed or their printer up and running without having to bug Ed. And how do we get the money to do that and have some sort of, support network in for the town offices? So these are things I'd really rather, me personally, I'm just, this is my opinion. I'd rather not have the town folks having to support these tools. But if that's the only thing we can do, that's the way it is. But I'm just speaking about what I want, perfect world, Mm-hmm. And if we had the money, I'd like to have someone come in and support these roles. But David's sitting on the ground and I'm up in the clouds. So here we are.
Yeah, and that's no problem. I mean, I think that's a concern or something that we need to think about
for sure
across the board, for not just telephones or PCs or anything. Just
absolutely.
Who do we go to if something goes bump in the night or people can't do their job in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm sure we can kind of work our way around that in the broader view. Okay, so let me get back to Chris on those requests. We'll get that back to the group and take it from there. I mean, honestly, past that, what are next steps? Is this really, put together a proposal, bring it in front of the select board?
Yeah, I think we're there. I think this is the last bit.
The reason, David, just to let you know, 5 years won't make it without a town meeting.
Yeah, and I remember you guys saying that.
And we don't know when the town meeting, that could be way off. We want to obviously get this in as soon as possible, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd say if we get this quote back and then Ed and the town can take this back and say, well, we want to buy these outright, or we want to finance them over to, finance or, spread it out over 3 years. That's their call. Either way, it looks like they're going to save some money. And they're going to get a huge upgrade in their services. So it's a win. We just want to get it rolling.
Okay. And I think the other thing that I think I failed to bring to Chris's attention was the transfer station. They don't have internet there, right? So
Correct.
Yeah. Can't power the phone on hopes and dreams.
Yeah. What about then upgrading to the next tier at Charter? Are we ready to do that now, or what does that involve?
Well, on the physical side, that's easy to do. You call and order it. However, we don't have the money in the budget to go up to the next tier.
Even with the savings that we're going to accrue here on the phones?
Well, that would be in a different account. So then it would have to be transferred either at a town meeting or at the end of the year in May or June.
I don't remember what the numbers were for the internet. Does anyone know? To upgrade the next year, was it like $100 or something, or was it more?
I forget.
It's
Megan.
$100 more than our current plan.
$100, so like $1,200 a year to upgrade to the. I think it was 100 or 200 and 100, something like that.
100 a month. 100 a month. Well, and actually, since we talked about that, they actually jumped the current plan up, I think, $10 a month in May.
So I mean, we can get away with either not doing that and provisioning the current network through what David said, putting some restrictions in, and then taking our chances, or we'd have to come up with another $1,200 to beef up the current system to handle the phones, so we know for sure there's gonna be no issues.
Well, number one, you don't have to come up with $1,200 because it would be $100 times whatever many months are left in the current fiscal year. And then depending on which way we look at going, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, if it's 5 years, we got to go to town meeting anyway. We could look at transferring funds from one account to another at the same time.
Which might be as late as February.
Right.
But maybe November. So, I mean, it seems hard to invest in the whole voice over IP and not have the right bandwidth to support it.
I mean, we're not there now.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of the test numbers, my preference would be, if we're going to go to the voice over IP, that yes, at the same time to support it, we go up a tier in our internet service.
We're going to go up a tier anyways. It stinks right now. It's no, if you add voice on top, it's even going to be worse. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't even feel comfortable with the current tier and the performance that you guys are seeing compared to what they say that they're offering. I mean, didn't somebody do some speed tests and they were well under the 100 meg or whatever they were supposed to be getting?
Yeah, I remember that someone saying that.
Well, I guess we just wait as always.
So is the answer to have should we have Charter come out and make them give us 100 megs down?
Well, what I would say is let's make sure it's not something internal to Town Hall, that there isn't some choke point on the network. I'd be happy to bring a PC with a USB to RJ45 adapter and test the speed right at that device and just see what we get, because things happen if you have a switch hook into a switch, or something, there's an issue with the PC. There's a lot of things that can go on. So if we can test it right at the right at their device, right at their router, and
I was going to say, could it be just the router itself?
I'm sorry?
Could it be just the router itself? That's the choke point.
It certainly could be. You can even, you can see that you could reboot the router and be like, oh, okay, yeah, speed's back up. There was something going on there. But I think it's easy enough for myself or somebody else just to do that, but do that from the network closet, not from a device that's, connected through however many hops. And if you're still doing that, screenshot it. If it's still showing slow speed, screenshot it, send it to Charter and just say, hey, this is what I'm seeing connected to the router.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing, is if they're not giving their service, 100 megabits is quite a lot of data.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're not getting that service, we should probably address that first. And then before we start spending our money on this problem, let's make them spend their money on it to give them what we should be paying, what we're paying for. What we're paying for. Yeah. So, I'm happy to help in any way I can with that. I don't know if I can, but I'm blending my services there any way I can to get Spectrum to come out, or at least David to come and at least test that. And then if David comes out and says, hey, we got a problem, I guess wrote me in at that point, David. Yeah. And then I'll work with Ed to get those guys out and fix this issue. Because that would be good after that. We'll see.
Yeah. So Ed, just a clarification on in the communications line in the budget, then, that pays all the phone bills, right, for all the various offices in town, it all gets charged, or town halls, just start with town hall, that communications line. I don't remember how much we have in there, but by adding this extra 100 a month, knowing that we're going to save money over time, we're not going to still be able to be within budget. You don't think?
The internet is paid from a different account.
Well,
I mean, do we just present the two things together?
I mean, I don't want us to get this far with such a big improvement and get stuck on $1,000. I mean,
right.
Yeah, we can show in the end that one balances out the other, and we're basically sitting at a net zero gain with a net zero expense with a lot of value improvement. So if we need to, write that up or give you a couple of slides or something, we can do that. But I understand Ed's point. They're different accounts, and you've got to pull the money from a certain account, and one account is blind of the other account. But as far as a human perspective about how do you get buy-in on what we're trying to achieve here, David's perspective of showing both accounts doing the scale sort of thing is very valuable. And again, I'm a complete idiot when it comes to the select board and what they're going to view as valuable and not valuable. So I'm leaving that up to Ed and Chris to rein me in there.
Well, we're definitely looking at any cost saving measures. That was the highest priority last night. So
I think if we could just present it in that order, in that fashion, just to say, here's what you guys are currently paying for telephony services. Here's a quote that we have for a modern voice over IP, system, it's a cost savings in the long run. However, to do that, we need to increase the speeds, which will cost less than the savings that we're making.
Right.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the justification, and then there's a technical aspect of moving the monies.
Right, correct. That's what I was trying to get at is, if we need to levy someone's emotional aspect on this, we can take David's approach and say, look, we're doing something great in the long term, and it's going to work out so everyone can relax. But to Ed's standpoint, from an accounting standpoint, to bean counter standpoint, as long as everyone knows and is on board with how the money is looking, then I think everyone will be okay. But again, it's just my perspective. And let us know what we can do, Ed and Chris, if you need anything from us. I think David is going to reach out for these final quotes, and he'll pass those along when he gets them. And if there's anything else besides that you guys need us to chase down, we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
In terms of checking the speeds at Town Hall, I'm going to imagine that we go there and we're going to see similar speeds to what was reported before, and we're going to need to reboot the router. I probably don't want to do that in the middle of the day. What's the best time to do that?
Anytime after 4.
Okay.
Well, I think I still owe you a margarita and a dinner. Should we try the two together?
I mean, we can make some things work. I from my perspective, so I'm out of town this weekend and the first half of next week. So if it's possible to do that, either tomorrow or Friday, if that works at all, I just don't want to put it off. You know what I mean? I don't want to do this and not have that information when we regroup again.
Tomorrow may be possible. Friday would not be.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are closed on Friday, right?
Well, I'm usually there, but I'm actually taking the day off. So.
Unbelievable.
Isn't it?
So maybe tomorrow, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me know what would work for you, and I'll try to work around that.
Okay. All right. Let me. I'll take a look at my schedule. Maybe if I can sneak over there. You said after 4 o'clock is usually best?
Yeah, I mean, that's usually when we shut down. So it's, either that and this is not my preference by any means, because I'm definitely not a morning person, or, like 6:30 in the morning. So
I'm not a morning person either. So let's forget that even came up.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you guys are going to try to shoot for tomorrow afternoon.
Sounds that way.
Okay. And then you'll let us, David, when you have time, and it's like you don't have to report back tomorrow, whenever, but before the next meeting, just send us an email in the next 2 weeks and let us know what came of that test result.
Of course.
If you don't mind.
No, of course. I know we pushed the last meeting. Are we 2 weeks out from today, or?
I'm going to try to do that. Yeah. And I'm slowly coming up to speed on how I need to schedule and how much lead time I need to get the meetings squared away.
No worries.
So yeah, I'm going to plan on 2 weeks from today.
I'll throw myself under the bus. I felt like an idiot. I emailed you in response to your meeting minutes that had the link to this on there. And I was like, I got nothing on my calendar. And I read the minutes too. I just went right by the Zoom link and everything, read the minutes and the agenda. And I'm like, all right, makes sense.
It happens.
How do I get in?
I didn't see it either. I had to go on the website. It was like, ooh.
So that's the
Yeah. So how do you guys want me to do that? I put them on the My Town Government thing, and I put them in the agenda. But would you rather me to send like a Google Calendar invite with all that stuff just on your calendar?
That might get a better turnout.
Okay.
I just end up seeing that. I end up seeing that, and I get notifications for it, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Gotta hop in. So.
All right, I'll do that. I'll put them in a calendar next time, and so I'll set up the My Town Government page like I have to do, and I'll put the stuff in there, and then I'll also do a Google Calendar invite with the stuff in that as well. That way, you should get at least a ping if you choose to set up. So. Bear with me as I kind of get my feet wet and how to help everyone get to these meetings. I rely on technology, and if I don't have it in my calendar, I don't show up. My calendar's empty. I'm like, praise Jesus. I don't have anything to do today.
No, I was in the same boat. Even though I knew it was happening, I was just like, I know it's around here somewhere. Oh God, it's 7.
All right. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good meeting. Thanks, everyone. Anybody else have any other new business? David, you have anything else to add? I don't want to cut you off if you're still reporting stuff.
No. That was the main thing. Ed and I traded some emails. This may have come up just on the Wally deployments and kind of a consolidated message to them. Ed, I don't know if you had a chance to send that. If it's easier for me to send that.
I'm going to edit it a little bit, and then I'll send it, but I'll CC you in when I send it.
Okay. I'll be happy to play ping pong with them once I see that going. I want to see that done. I know Dan LaValle and a lot of other folks, and Chris, I know you. A lot of people want to see this kind of put to bed. So anything we can do to move that over the finish line would be great.
All right. So we did, speaking of that, I'll go back and circle back to some stuff we talked about earlier, David, before you joined. We were talking about, how do we get some money together for all of our stuff we want to do. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we had discussed as a possible item would be to try to roll out the 365 project, with some of this grant money, if we can secure some of that. So we have a few different items that Ed had thought of. He thought maybe we could get some money for the website upgrade. He also is thinking about some financial software that the town's using that needs to be overhauled and replaced. And he was thinking about using some money for doing a wide area network between the buildings or the town buildings and whatnot. And the other fourth idea was trying to secure money for the Office 365 work that kind of needs to be done to get us in the cloud. But I wanted you specifically to hear this because I kind of want you thinking about other sort of risky things or other things that we could be doing that could be secure with grant money, right? Because we have like long-term projects we want to do, like possibly fiber in the town or other certain things that are big ticket long-term items. We also have these sort of risky sort of areas like not having backups and not having IT vendor to support all the users and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to bubble up all the risky components to the top so that we can triage those and try to figure out what grant money is available to really resolve all these loose ends that we have in the breeze that could really hurt the town. Yeah. And then once we have those resolved, once we have a good IT foundation under the town, we can start, kind of springboarding off that, actually building value. But until then, I can't see doing these high ticket projects until we've shored up, and we have basically a sinking ship here. And until we've shored up all these holes, I can't see, going long term with all these other projects until we patch up all these problems with our hull. So I'm an old Navy guy, so I like using Navy terms. But I wanted you to hear that because you missed that part in the beginning, and I certainly want you thinking about that because I know that you kind of think about these things like I do in some ways, and you'll be a good. Over the next 2 weeks, having you drive down the road thinking about risk is kind of what I want you doing as far as Southampton is concerned. So when we come back next 2 weeks, we can try to triage these the best we can.
Sure. Yeah, and I think I popped in as you guys were talking about some of that. I think definitely, data migration, getting anything that's on that server secured. I would almost put that above Office 365. There are so many vulnerabilities that are out there and so much going on, and it doesn't take much to get into a fairly flat network like we have at Town Hall, and that could be catastrophic, more so than email. So, and that could be obviously a portion of the Office 365 stuff. The other thing that you may there are some MSPs that you could buy upfront blocks of time from to do whatever they offer, whether it's migration type stuff, whether it's just regular day-to-day support, patching, server patching, desktop patching, everything like that. Just something else to think of. I don't know how that works with grants. My company, we've worked with some nonprofits where they've done stuff like that, where they actually secured a capital skills grant and got a whole bunch of money to completely overhaul their infrastructure. They were able to purchase it from us and purchase blocks of professional services up front that they can apply towards that, whether it was cabling or configuration or whatever. So just something else to think of. I mean, if we can secure a block of money, there's a lot of ways to spend it, obviously.
Yeah, one of the grants is like $200,000. So I posed the question earlier: do we have a $200,000 problem in our face right now?
I think that's what I joined.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I want you thinking about, and you already have a good handle on it. So, all right, anything else from anybody else?
I don't think so. I just threw 4:30 on my calendar for tomorrow. So Ed, I'll be in touch about that. I'll ping you when I'm freeing up from work, and I'll shoot over there. And we can do that quick speed test before I head out to grab my son.
Okay.
And same, David, same thing with you. If any hours or any time that you're doing personal, like actually doing work, just keep a log of it, if you would. I just want to keep track of all the time that the members are actually doing stuff besides consulting.
Can you define actual work?
Like, it's nothing like formal, Ed. It's just, for me, I just want to know what people are doing. Like, Dan's going to be doing some actual hands-on with the website. I just want to know how long he's been working on that. And if David's going to be doing cabling, he'd mentioned that he would have no problem doing a cabling job in the closet downstairs, and that's fine. I want to keep track of his time and anybody that's actually doing hands-on work.
Maybe that's something we could throw up in the shared G drive, just a spreadsheet that's just
perfect.
Hours.
Yep, just keep track of it. And like I said, nothing's going to happen. I just want to know where people are doing and how much time they're spending on things. That's all. Because I don't want people burned out. And some people won't. A lot of people are type A personalities, and they won't tell people how much they're working. And I just don't want that. So some accountability about what we're up to is good. All right. So with that, I'll adjourn. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight, and I'll get some meeting notes out as soon as I can.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye, guys. Thanks. Bye.